he's here today because we're going to discuss compound interest on loans. So UAE Supreme Court rules against compound interest on loan. We'll explain you the whole story. Apart from that, we're not talking about Dubai property today. We're talking about Sharjah property breaking a record. They've done AED 44.3 billion in sales in 2025 in the first 9 months. We'll tell you how it's big. And we have to discuss this because Yannick Sinner has clinched the $6 million, 6 title in Saudi Arabia. We're going to talk about how big this has become, how big it is in terms of money, and how Riyadh season is so big in terms of money. So the very first story is the UAE's Federal Supreme Court has reaffirmed that banks are not allowed to charge compound interest on loans. This means interest can't keep building up on top of older interest. The court made this clear after overturning a lower court decision in a dispute between a bank and a borrower. And the original loan was 700,000 dirhams, but the bank was demanding 1.553 million dirhams, more than double the amount borrowed.
Yeah, it's a lot. How was your weekend, Majid?
It was great. It was perfect. I had a lot of rest after a long GITEX and Expand North Star week.
So, yeah, it's a busy season, isn't it? Yeah. But there's so much happening in the region. There's so much activity business-wise.
Yeah.
You know, there's so many deals being signed, you know, and I don't think business people are sleeping much at the moment. You know, we're in such a sort of always-on modes with mobile phones and things like that. It's just so active. And yesterday I spoke at Zayed University Hackathon, and Macfield Publishing did and the kids were doing AI projects all night long. They were all weekends. They weren't sleeping. I spoke on a panel with you know, lots of different people, co-founder of Katopi, you know, different business people, Karma Developments, and different business people and different e-commerce and investors and things like that. And there's just so much going on. There's so much activity.
You spoke at one of the panels also. Right?
Yeah, I spoke on that panel. Talking about fail fast and failing and learning in business and things like that. But yeah, you know, it's reflecting on Monday morning and doing a business show. There's just so much that goes on in weekend. You know, if we think of the projects that we're involved in, you know, so many different video shoots, so many different media partnerships. You know, there is the first races of the season in sports. Our Smashi streaming channel on sports, we're streaming so many different things. And, you know, you mentioned massive events. And last week we covered GITEX and, you know, last week. But everyone else involved in the events world is planning a lot more. There's the Sharjah Investment Forum this week. Our teams in Riyadh are working on the global health.
Yeah, global health exhibition, GHE.
GHE.
And it's the same days as FII.
With Informa, it's fascinating how big Informa are, and Tahaluf, is that how I pronounce it?
Yeah, Tahaluf.
Yeah, and FII, which is, I think it's 8th or 9th year, and if there's one event that gives me real buzz, it's FII. So all going well, I'll be there next week. But yeah, what's kind of buzzing at the moment? Big deals and big transactions.
The biggest, I would be looking at FII9 because we remember we talked about them going for an IPO most probably also. Bloomberg reported and we discussed it. So it was very interesting to see that how they will work it out. Whereas I remember Richard Attias telling the whole story how it came into being. They wanted it under the Saudi government, but then they were like, no, let's keep it private, just backed by PIF, not the government. So it's a very nice. I would be looking at FII, one of the reasons because they stream everything, so you can literally listen to all the panel sessions. Otherwise, usually here events you have to physically go there. FII gives you that option that you can sit at your home.
You know, and we're in a part of the world that's getting increasingly, you know, subject to climate change, and also you think with digital that we're sort of doing things more remotely or work from home. But when the event season happens, you realize what an economic driver they are. Transactions, meetings, even communications. People are announcing deals, they're pitching their ideas. You know, so many things last week. People are using that platform to announce their projects and their ideas. And I think, you know, one of the stories here was, you know, Sharjah announced things last week as well. And, you know, people are really sort of saying, okay, there's this thing coming up. Is that the time to do our communications? Can we get share of voice at that event? Or, as I spoke to one media executive recently, they weighed up whether they should do an announcement at the Arab Media Forum in May, and they decided, no, we'll do it on our own at our own event in September instead.
Nice.
And I wonder people making these decisions, do you do it during the event, or do you do it later? I think there's also Cityscape in Qatar that happened, and there's just so many different events, isn't there? We have the MWC in Qatar
next
coming
week,
up.
yeah. The main idea of these is, I think they're cramming everything now into some window, because Feb will have Ramadan. And last year we saw a lot of the events kept going till June, and it usually doesn't happen. Usually by March or April they're done and they go into that summer mode.
But you say cramming in, and obviously it feels like that, but actually it never sleeps. There's always something like it. Yeah, sure, there's a few more destination related and outdoor things now than in the summer, but it's not really slowing down, and also what's so cyclical now is that once the event is over, they're planning for the next one. Like everyone leaving GITEX last week, there was flags all over the place for all the GITEXs around the world, but there was I got an email saying GITEX Wales. So I'm like, okay,
nice.
I heard of Morocco, I heard of Hong Kong, I heard of Berlin, but now there's more and more and more. So and on Smashi Business we cover all the Gulf investments in Africa. There's GITEX in Africa. We cover, obviously the Gulf is our focus, and even with, our offices across the region, I just wonder, how do people fully navigate all the activities? Dubai is fast enough, and then you add layers of all the other Gulf activities and everything. It's really, really...
It's just the main idea of this is, to be honest, why we talk about it, I think, is it's $1 billion industry. The whole event, the MICE event thing.
In the region?
It's at least $1 billion. It's more than $1 billion industry, but just saying generally, at least billions of dollars. The sponsorships that go in, the money that goes in, the exhibition spaces. Just some experience from last. One of the companies that I worked at, events company, one exhibition stand was at least 200, 300,000. So imagine the scale of GITEX and just imagine how much money comes into GITEX. And thankfully then they use it to market and they give you all the services. It's a lot of money that comes in and goes out. So I think it's one part of Dubai, to be honest. Dubai mainly, and then whole Middle East, which is growing. We talk about tourism, we talk about everything, but we somehow miss this part that people travel in, and it's not just one industry, it's every industry is related. Emirates gets a lot of flights because of it. Hotels get accommodations.
And let's talk a little. Can you just give us a summary into the Sharjah Investments? What is this?
Sharjah Investment Forum is an event. It's into, I think it's 8th or 9th year. Sharjah Investment Forum used to happen alone. This year it's with World Investment Conference. So World Investment Conference plus Sharjah Investment Forum, they've merged their agenda. It's a very complicated agenda, but very simply they're talking about sustainability of investment and how FDI can be attracted across the globe. FDI is...
So Sharjah obviously do a really, really good SEF, Sharjah Entrepreneurship Forum in Jan or Feb on that beautiful campus, and that gets the buzz. The campus is full of kids and students, I should say, and it gets the big speakers. And Sharjah also do a really good book fair. I saw Mohammed Salah speak at that last year. Trevor Noah's done it in the past, and Lewis Howes and a few others. So the Sharjah is really good at putting on events. It's known as a cultural city, and we'll talk about property, but it's really good at events. And it's just nice to see that they're doing their own FDI, because essentially FII is an FDI. It's a foreign investment, foreign direct investment initiative. They're selling their projects to the international bankers. That's essentially what it is. And Dubai always tops the charts, especially in the region of FDI. They do really well at that. But it's nice to see that Sharjah are doing a FDI.
Mr. Al-Abbar is speaking with Chris Fade. There's a fireside chat. It's 1:10 to 1:40 p.m. on 23rd. That's second day. It's 22 and 23. And then we have Mabina Sajwani.
So Chris Fade is interviewing Hamad Al-Abbar.
It's going to be very interesting, right? It's completely different people, by the way. But I think Chris Fade, his entrepreneurial skills are getting better now with Chris Fade.
Chris should pitch his Fade Fit to Hamad Al-Abbar, because Hamad Al-Abbar's Americana group is looking for... they're more in the F&B, and he obviously has Al-Abbar, F&B as well, that entity, but Americano is known for the KFCs and all that. So maybe they'll be into Faith Fit snacks.
After or before the fireside chat, there is going to be some investor discussion. John Aguilar, remember the final pitch? We have a partnership with them soon enough when they start streaming. They say it's end of November. We'll tell you all about John Aguilar.
I'm a mentor on that final pitch episode. It's on OSN actually.
So once they start streaming, you'll know we have a partnership with them. We'll do a lot of work with them.
So
John Aguilar is interviewing Amira Sajwani.
Very good.
That's also on 23rd. It's in the morning. And then Amir Khan, the boxer, is also there. So these are the 3 highlights that I saw.
And can people go along to that?
Yeah, it's free. You can just go enter and enjoy it.
So
absolutely. They have a lot of other things. There's a lot of panels, international experts coming on investment. We try to focus on our people more. So there's going to be a lot of UN people and all that. But importantly, these are the highlights. You can go there, enjoy. It's at Al Jawahar Center. It's near the Sharjah airport. I just saw the location. We will be there. We'll tell you the highlights. We'll cover it on our stories and on our feed.
So it starts on Wednesday or Thursday?
Wednesday. Okay. 22nd and 23rd.
Wednesday and Thursday this week.
Stay tuned.
We've given you enough heads up.
Yeah. Tomorrow we have a very interesting partnership with Hub 71. You can see there's 3 announcements coming, so you can keep an eye on that as well.
Hub 71 Abu Dhabi, of course.
Hub 71. Very nice incubator. But next week we have FII.
So
that's the update, Monday update.
Just giving you a little bit of, get your calendars in order. But I did interrupt. You were talking about the new UAE regulation, and just to sort of continue on that story about banning, stopping compound interest on loans. So here's how the case started. A borrower took 2 loans out, one for 634,000 dirhams and the other for 66,000 dirhams. The bank said it gave the money and the borrower didn't pay it back on time. So it filed a case asking for 1.9 million plus 11.25% annual interest. At first, the lower court said the borrower should pay the principal amount with simple interest only, but later the court appealed, sided with the bank, increasing the repayment to 1.5 million dirhams.
The whole story is basically the case which happened, and then Supreme Court gave the decision. So it's important to know the story. The borrower didn't give up and went to the Supreme Court. And very nice that there's rule of law and you can literally go to any court. He argued that the extra amount the bank was charging was compound interest, which is illegal in the UAE. The High Court agreed. It found that interest of 860,000 dirhams nearly exceeded the original loan of 700,000, which is not allowed under the UAE law.
Fascinating. The court explained the rules clearly. Banks can charge interest above before the loan is closed, but after the account closure, only simple interest is allowed. This means interest should be calculated only on the original loan amount, not on interest that was already added.
And lastly, the Supreme Court also said that delay interest, which is a penalty for paying late, must not push the total amount owed beyond the original loan. The case will now go back to the Court of Appeal to adjust the repayment amount. This ruling matters to anyone with a loan in the UAE. It protects borrowers from banks charging more than what the law allows. And
it's so good. I remember being at the Bloomberg Economic Forum in Qatar and meeting an Islamic finance expert out of the UK. I think he was from Pakistan, and he was just telling me about Sharia compliant financing, sukuks and everything, but this applies very much here as well. And I think it's so you rightly pointed out, Majid, that you can reappeal and reappeal and reappeal, and there are more courts and things like that, but also it's just important for people to see the positives, but also to know of the regulation in the country that they're in as well. But very good on loans as well. It's really hard when people are in debt, because if they're in debt and they're being charged more, then that can really turn out.
And I think we have a lot of debt here where people go and take it and invest in something, and eventually they have to get out of it. So it's always good to have a basic idea of what you're paying and what you're not paying. Let's move on quickly to the next one. We talked a lot about Sharjah, according to Sharjah, in light of the Sharjah Investment Forum. But real estate in Sharjah is also booming. It has smashed previous records this year. Total property transactions surged 58.3% year on year, reaching 44.3 billion dirhams in the first 9 months of 2025. That's already higher than the total of 2024, which stood at 40 billion dirhams. The figures were released by Sharjah Real Estate Registration Department and reported by VAM.
Sales and mortgages are both on the rise. Transaction volumes climbed 16.3%, hitting 1,300 deals in a quarter alone. This in the first 9 months of the year. This included 24,200 sales across 239 areas in the Emirate. 239 areas in Sharjah, wow, and a total of 42,000 properties changed hands. Shows it's not all off plan, spanning residential, commercial and industrial zones. Mortgage activity also grew strongly to 10.4 billion dirhams, reflecting stronger investor confidence and easier finance options.
And the market is attracting global interest, and I think stop here, because we know, I think buyers from 121 countries have invested in Sharjah this year. This is one of the numbers. Emiratis led the way with 21.1 billion in deals. Foreign investors contributed 13.1 billion. Arab nationals contributed 7.5 billion, and GCC investor overall, they contributed 2.6 billion. This highlights Sharjah's growing role as a regional property hotspot.
Yeah, it absolutely is, and not just Sharjah, all Northern Emirates. New developments are adding to the boom. 14 new projects have been registered across 11 key areas covering residential, commercial and industrial sites. Experts say the surge is driven by foreign ownership reforms, affordable pricing and people relocating from Dubai. It's another sign that the Northern Emirates is becoming prime investment zones in the UAE.
And I was having a chat on Saturday with one of the friends who works there. I was at a Diwali party, who works in Ras Al Khaimah for property, and he told me that 3 years ago, the places near Win Al Marjan, if a property was at 1 million, it's now at 4 or 5 million. That's so much an increase. And we then went into a discussion of how the Northern Emirates, it's actually the spillover, to be honest, of Dubai, because now not everyone can invest in Dubai. The prices are very high now. The entry point is so big. So I think all these stories make sense, because now we know that people are not looking at Dubai only. They're going to Sharjah. I think Al Quwaim and Fujairah are the next frontiers, but Ras Al Khaimah has already become the third biggest hub, I think.
Absolutely. You can definitely look at it from a Dubai lens, but always, especially, doing this show from Dubai, we always look at, and a business, we always look at the UAE as a collective sort of economy, and it's often, you can look at it as Emirate and state governments, just like you might look at the US states. But it is the collective United Arab Emirates, it's the collective GDP growth, it's the regulation and the synergies between each emirate. But yeah, it's great to see, and those reports, and we went into detail on the numbers. It's sure there are some off-plan properties and investors and retail investors doing this, but there's also manufacturing increases. There's also lots of different investments that are happening. There's data centers. There's many different projects. There's F&B. There's hotels. There's plots. There's lands. There's so many different things that are going into it. We opened our 7th office in Ras Al Khaimah this year for this very reason, to have an outpost for the Northern Emirates. We kind of think that we can reach Sharjah from Dubai, but we're also in touch with Shams, the Sharjah media entity there as well, and I wouldn't be surprised if we had another office and entity just for Sharjah alone, with Love in Sharjah and the growth there as well. And they will solve the traffic problems. There's a kind of when there's a connotation with every word, and whenever you think of Sharjah and business, you think of traffic. But Sharjah is a very Islamic emirate, and it also, we talked about the conferences, we talked about the culture, we talked about the other things that are happening there. Also, Sharjah is big for sports, right? Sharjah are a good club in football and in volleyball and handball. They also have a cricket stadium there. They have a lot of, which is in partnership with Sharjah, the main stadium there, and they do a lot of local sports there as well. So it's historic in terms of cricket. Some very famous incidences in the past have happened in the Sharjah Cricket Stadium. So, and a lot of people grew up in Sharjah who live in Dubai. People know Sharjah very well, and it's a great story.
Yeah, it's a great story. And let's move on to Saudi Arabia. I picked the sports story because I know Rich loves sports. I do too, but I think I've grown old. I can't play anymore. But Yannick Sinner has already claimed the $6 million prize at the 6th King Slam exhibition in Saudi Arabia. A little details of the match, and then we'll come to why we're discussing it on the business show. He defeated Carlos Alcaraz, who's considered the next Nadal, I think. In the final, the win marks the biggest single payday of the men's tennis season, surpassing the $5 million awarded at the 2025 US Open. This is why this is so big. every player in the six-man event earned $1.5 million just for a pairing, with Sinner pocketing the full prize for lifting the trophy.
Yeah, it was a rematch. So it's the second year in a row that Sinner's come out on top. This is a great sporting rivalry.
Yeah.
They talked about the big four, the big three in tennis. Now we've got Sinner and Alcaraz. They've met in every Grand Slam final this year. They now meet in the Six Slams final, and they really play up to it. Overall, Alcaraz does some more Grand Slams, but now he has a Six Slam. I love how they've made this event. I love how Turkey Al Sheikh has put this onto Netflix. They've grown year on year. I watched some of the production over the weekend, and there's nothing like it. It's next level digital production. It's just very, very well done. It's beautifully shot. And in the runner-up slot, you had Novak Djokovic take on Taylor Fritz. Sinner got the better of the Spaniard in 2 sets. So it's not a classic match yet, and we don't have numbers from Netflix. I would be interested. We obviously have value and commercial numbers, but we talked briefly last week about Mari, which is a sort of a new entity set up. So the well-known investor or business person in the US, Ari Emanuel, who owns lots of different assets, and he's known for doing agent deals under his agent's business, that where he makes Hollywood movies and things like this, but also he's known for putting together TKO and WWE, or WWE and UFC under TKO, and I think what happened was they have their talent representation business, and now so they took that private. And now TKO share price is doing really well, obviously with Dana White and UFC and WWE, which has strong tentacles across the region, and we're having, I mean that in an endearing way, but they're having lots of events in the region. We love Abu Dhabi, UFC over the years. We're seeing now the famous WWE WrestleMania take place in Saudi Arabia, which is unbelievable. Lots of fans in the region. But then they sold these sort of other assets that they had, which was, the art events, the Freezer, the Banales, and different sort of tennis tournaments that they owned. And they sort of said, well, we really believe, I listened to a podcast with Ari Emanuel talk about this, and he said, we're going to a 4-day week, whether you like it or not. Around the world, that's where we're going. So people are going to have more time. With AI, and people are going to have more time, and what they're going to do with more time, they're going to go to real-world events. Yes, digital-wise, but they're going to real-world events. So what he did was, he goes, I can get the money together. I don't want to lose these assets. So he tapped up his Apollo Capital and, Redbirds, and Redbirds IMI is that JV in Abu Dhabi, which we talked about a lot in different stories. So, and then the Qatar Investment Authority. So they all chucked in a bit of cash, loose change, $2 billion, and they used that to sort of spin out these 4 or 5 IPs, or however number they had, and they will use that cash as well to add new events and experiences. And they're really doubling down on live events and experiences. And this is sort of to the point, we saw Netflix last week said that they are going to bid for the Champions League. Apple have put up $7 billion, I think, to get maybe that number's wrong, to get the rights in the US alone for F1. F1 has had an interesting season. There was a win yesterday for Max Verstappen, and now he's 40 points behind the leaders. But we've got the run-in coming up. It's the 20th of October, meaning you've got Qatar, Doha, and the finale in Abu Dhabi. So all these people are looking forward to a repeat of the 21 season, where it went down to the last race and the last lap. And, it was a really, really, everyone in F1 knows that story in Abu Dhabi. And every year we hope, Abu Dhabi will be well attended anyway, but we hope that there's something to race for. And Max is giving it every fighting chance. So and they also, yes, this is an F1 deal in Abu Dhabi, in Apple in the US, but F1 is owned by Liberty Media, the great American, media investor, John Malone. He also now under Liberty Media merged in MotoGP, and MotoGP, which wasn't as sexy over the years, wasn't as fan, but the purists of moto racing will say that it was actually a better watch. It was more gritty. The takeovers are better, and the motorbikes are better than F1 cars or whatever. Anyway, that's going to be ramped up in terms of fan experiences. And in Saudi, we have also the esports events, and we have lots of different things. So all this is a wider theme of the merger of sports rights, fan experiences, real-world events, And you mentioned briefly the sort of U.S. Open. The U.S. Open has been revamped. They no longer have quiet time. People go for selfies and for taking photos of the matches and things like that. It's a fan experience. It's the thing to do in New York at the end of August. And we're seeing with Riyadh season, and this is part of Riyadh season, which is the Six Slams. It was one of the early events in Riyadh season. There was a massive parade. Turkey Al-Sheikh announced last night he's doing roadblocks globally as Riyadh season. So there's such a merger in, we thought that the esports was in the summer for the esports World Cup, but now esports is part of Riyadh season. Six Slams is part of Riyadh season. There's so many people in Riyadh. From Mr. Beast, did you see the airplane shots down?
Him, Aisho Speed is there. Aisho is on the ground everywhere. He was doing the celebration with Ronaldo, learning the drums. So
the drums.
You can see the fan
Shaq
experience.
Was there, like
Shaq is there.
All the Khans were there.
Yeah,
Salman Khan.
I think they're putting up an extravaganza which will become unmatched, and that's how you make money. That is one of the reasons why me and Boyd also talk about, they don't diversify into manufacturing only or products only. They're diversifying into entertainment, Saudi Arabia. And we've seen that since 2015 MBS came, the Crown Prince, we have seen that they have made entertainment a top priority as well. And in terms of sports entertainment, movies entertainment, we did the story.
Riyadh Season is a great platform. Yeah, if you want to do something big in Saudi, you partner with... Riyadh Season is basically becoming like Sela, which is like an investment partnership vehicle. And in the end, you have an event. Within that, they have the Boulevard, they have the platform now. Boulevard wasn't big enough for Mr. Beast, so he took over Alea Road, the main highway, and it was just fascinating because that's a traffic jam at the best of times. I wonder what it looked like with the airplanes, but I wonder how that all came about because they used the airplanes, they brought them from different parts of the kingdom for last year's Riyadh season, and now Mr. Beast is taking it down the highway. But you were saying.
And very interestingly, there is Jeddah season, Alula season, all this is, my wife tells me all this, but we have other seasons as well. So it's not just Riyadh, it's just, I think Riyadh is the main focus, the main big presenting packaging, but they have other seasons as well, because when I went to Jeddah last year, the Jeddah season went on.
Yeah, I think that you're right. In the original mapping of the 365 calendar in terms of activities, and I remember working on some of this stuff in Dubai with Dubai Calendar and Abu Dhabi way back, and now you have more activity in Qatar with Qatar Calendar as well. But what I'm trying to sort of allude to here is that Riyadh season, yes, it ticks that box, but it's also more than that now. It's also the logos on the boxing rings in the O2 in Vegas. It's actually like when Sela was on the jerseys of Newcastle, and Sela was the entertainment entity under GEA, General Entertainment Authority, under Turkish Sheikh, which still exists. And then you've got Surge Sports, which you allude to with the investment in sports. But Riyadh season is the platform. It's beyond the terms of the city and the word season. It's not actually restrictive of a city, and it's not actually restrictive of a season. So it's more to do with entertainment in Saudi.
He's built it into a global brand. It's not just the city or the things that happen. He's made it into a complete global brand.
It's a tourist attraction. It's a thing. It's not restricted to a time of the year. It's not even restricted to Riyadh, as we've seen. So it's taken a life of its own, and it's become a kind of investment vehicle and a platform and a canvas for events. We will see so many events happen this Riyadh season, much of which are announced, but there'll be more to come. There'll be so much. There's football matches happening under this umbrella and many more. And you alluded to show speed. Ronaldo, Al Nassr are on fire this season. They're top of the league by 5 points. It's his sort of almost fourth season if you include the sort of mid-season 22-23 when it comes.
Do you think they can win this season?
I think they can. I've been watching them, and I think they've got it together. They're playing in the Elite Champions League 2 this week in India. There were talks that Ronaldo would go to Goa, but he's not going. And this is a plan that he's made with Jesus, the coach, that he wants to be ready for he wants to get 1,000 goals. We all know this, but he wants to be ready for the USA, Mexico and Canada 2026 FIFA World Cup. I think he's got it together. Like I've been watching a bit of football. I know it's off topic, but Alula, I'll bring it into business. So, sorry, not Alula, Al Awal Park. Al Awal is the first, but it's also known as Victory Stadium. Victory meaning first, or Al Awal in Riyadh. And it was one of the first sporting venues under SMC Saudi Media Company that a gentleman called Khalid used to run. And now they basically, they made that really profitable, that venue. And it lit up on Friday night. Al Nassr had a relatively easy game against, beginning with an F. Anyway, they won 5-1, and Ronaldo got 2 goals. Missed a penalty and then scored it from outside the box. Brilliant goal.
Yeah.
And João Felix, who still is one of the top 5 most expensive transfers of all time. If we look at his stats, he's 25, burst on the scene for Benfica as a 19-year-old or so, and he transferred all over Europe. And in the summer, he was on the way back to Benfica because he couldn't make the Chelsea team on loan from whoever he was with. I think, anyway, he was with one of the big clubs in Europe.
He went to Atletico as well. He played a lot of
He's been around, yeah. So he ends up. So Ronaldo does this post at the end of the season, and he's like, end of the chapter. His contract's up, and we don't know, is he going to transfer to Hilal? We don't know what's going to happen. And then he goes to the Red Sea and he signs a new contract. So the new contract, a 2-year contract. He's 40, and he's about 50 goals short, 54 goals of 1,000 career goals. And so he signs this recontract. He's on a couple of $100 million a year,
at least,
more than the other guys in Saudi. But he signs this new contract. Al Nassr let go of their coach, who's now coaching with Al Wasl, and they won the Dubai derby this weekend against Al Nassr 2-1. So the coach there, I remember his name. He's now with Nastro. What's his name?
Jorge Mendes. I think that was the coach with Ronaldo.
No, that's his agent. Mendes is his agent. But the coach went from Al Nassr coach went to Al Wasl, but Al Nassr's new coach is Jesus. So he was the coach of Al Hilal when they won that brilliant season, and then they didn't do so well last year. But he stayed in Saudi. He didn't rush back to Brazil, even though Brazil now have an Italian manager. But he was rumored to be linked with that job. But he chose to stay in Saudi. He speaks Portuguese, obviously, and Herrera was the business manager of Al Nassr. He leaves. Semedo, or I can't pronounce his name, Ronaldo brings in his friend as the football director, Portuguese. He brings in Jesus, Brazilian, Portuguese speaking, as the manager. He signs a 2-year deal. He's on WhatsApp all summer. I'm adding flavour and colour. He gets João Felix on a plane to Benfica, flies him into the training camp, gets him to sign for Al Nassr. The naysayers say that he got a hat trick, and one of the goals that João Felix scored the other night is unbelievable footwork. And the naysayers go, it shows how easy that league is if João Felix is scoring a hat trick. João Felix cheats because he was in Ronaldo's position. Because he was in Ronaldo's position. Number 9, number 10, they give him 10, but he's basically a front forward, right? So now João Felix comes in behind him. You put Kingsley Coman, who came from Munich, on the right, propped up by already there Sadio Mane, and you've got a concrete 4. All you have to do is keep that in place, get them ticking over, and it's going to be hard to beat. But there was a brilliant game as well last night. Qasadiya from Dammam, so Aramco, one of the biggest markup companies in the world, now own, under the new 2030 vision, now own this football team, and they're building the Aramco Stadium in Dammam. And if you look online and look on Love in Dammam and Love in Saudi, you will see photos of this stadium going up, and the growth in the last 12 months of the stadium. It's obviously part of the 2034 World Cup, but the proprietors of that stadium is going to become Al Qasadiya. Al Qasadiya, if I'm pronouncing it right, they signed the biggest prodigy in Italian football, Lippiger, can't pronounce him, and he signed in the summer, but he didn't score the hat-trick last night. Another guy did, Quincy something. He scored the hat-trick last night, but they beat Neom. Neom is obviously part of Tabuk, which is Neom, the line and all that. But when they announced the Neom project, they didn't have a football team. There were 2 football teams in Tabuk. One which people thought was the more better one. And there was one a few kilometers or 50 kilometers down the coast near Yambu on the way down to Jeddah, Red Sea, up the top bit there near Jordan, right? And they came in and they acquired that club. It's about 50 years old, begins with S. There was a yellow and gold football club, and the Neom Corporation rebranded it in the blue and it's a blue jersey now, and they have the Neom. They renamed it as Neom FC.
Yeah.
They brought in the executive from the club that signed Steven Gerrard at Difat. He came over from Saudi. I don't know if he's given the Neom CEO job now, but I think it's similar guys. Anyway, they were in the second division, and they had the budget of Al Nassr, and they signed big players, and they got promoted in the summer, and now they're in the top league, and they're doing really well. But they went up against Qasadiyya last night, and so Aramco against Neom.
Yeah.
But Aramco Stadium is nearly finished,
Yeah.
and they won 3-1 against Lacazette, a good old French Arsenal player, is playing for Neom, and they've got two prodigies, two young guys in the French under-21s. So it's just interesting to see, like, historically, you think of what makes a good league. Is it one team running away? And do we think, what's exciting about the Saudi League is now a different team can win it every year.
Yeah.
And outside the top four, which were PIF owned, which are now being spun off, we think William bin Talal did another photo on his Instagram over the weekend, or on his X account. He posts on X more, obviously, he part owns it. But he did what do you call the outside a plane? There's a word for branding outside a plane. Anyway, so he did a photo of Hilal with Flynas, and I think he must invest in both. But he's trying to buy, obviously, Al Hilal, because he's a big fan. Yeah. And then you've got Al Nassr, Al Hilal, Al Ahly, and Al Etihad were owned by PF, and they're all been sold off. But the other entities, Royal Commission of Al Ula own Al Ula. When I went to Al Ula, I walked down these beautiful old streets last year, been a couple of times, but walked down the beautiful old streets. It was my engagement weekend, and we were walking down, and we were picking up some nice little gifts. And when we saw this little cute, lots of oud shops, lots of coffee shops, beautiful. Somewhere, the independent company, the Salt founders, have a beautiful restaurant there.
Nice.
Al Ula is amazing. The Old Town Al Ula, there's a UNESCO Old Heritage Site there as well. Yeah, it's unbelievable. But anyway, what did I find but this little souk shop of a football jersey store with one of the young players for Al Ula selling jerseys behind the counter. So we bought an Al Ula football jersey. But Al Ula now are in the second division. It's called the Yellow League. Yellow is a brand, but it's called the Saudi second division, second tier. And Al Ula, this season, 25-26, Al Ula are trying to do a Neom. So
they want to come in the middle.
Yeah, because Al Ula is one of the Giga projects. Al Ula is, even though it only has 50,000 population, but Al Ula want to be in the top league because they want, the Al Ula cycling team are in the Tour de France, I think, but they're definitely a cycling team. So you see the branding, Neom has events, you see this branding coming through everywhere. Fascinating. Talk about seasons and how things evolve, right?
Yeah.
But Al Ula might be a season, but it's also a football team.
Yeah, the most important thing that I got out of it is that somehow they are managing players who everyone thinks is a failure, but when they come to Saudi, it's not that Saudi is easy to play, it's just good management. They know they're hiring.
Sometimes it doesn't work. Jordan Henderson left after a few months. But this is football. You can't just criticize a league. The first few seasons with Ronaldo and Al Nassr didn't work. Players came and went, and they had little jibes at it there, like Talisca went to Turkey and he had little digs. But now, that's the beauty of football. Like, you get good management and you get good players into a system, and it's beauty of business as well, then it can click. It's early season, they're 5 games in, they're 5 points clear, and they were very unlucky in Hong Kong in the King's Cup because he lost on penalties to Al Ahly. But if he had won that tournament, then this would definitely be the season where he could have got a few trophies. I think Elite Champions League 2 is easier to win than Elite Champions League 1. So I think he'll be aiming for, it's basically the Europa League. He'll be aiming for this one in Asia and the Saudi League. So he'd love to walk into the Portugal World Cup next year with closer to 1,000 goals and 2 Saudi trophies in his back pocket.
Inshallah. That's how we say it.
Yeah.
But
cool. We had a sports show at the end of the business show.
But that's a wrap for today. Thank you for tuning into the Smashi Business Show. Make sure to follow us across all social media channels at Smashi Business and stay ahead with our daily newsletter. You'll find the subscription link in the description. And Rich can say this part.
Yeah, so this has been a Smashi Business Show, Smashi Business Production. Also a Smashi Sports Show. You can follow Smashi Sports social profiles and the newsletter and podcast, part of the Gus's Media Podcast Network. Big shout out to over 2 million people who this show reaches, who our shows reach every month. You make this possible. If you're one of them, we appreciate you. And as I heard from Marwan, who does the Love and Muscat Show, if you're listening till now, do leave us a comment or leave us a DM or leave us a review or drop us an email, and we'll personally call out your name on the next episode. Thank you very much, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.